So, everybody, welcome. I'm happy that you guys came. This is going to be our fourth Thursday in a row that we're doing this. And today we're going to be going over the pros and cons of creative deals and cash deals. With the market changing, things are not working the way they were 4, 5, 6 months ago. So I'm going to start off. We're going to go through some deals that we have done, some deals that didn't really work out for us, and the lessons that we learned from them. So we're going to start off with a very good cash deal and the pros of why cash deals can work and how they are extremely profitable, but with the market changing, what we need to look out for. So whenever we look at a cash deal, these are my two things that I always look for, right? So one, cash deals typically work well when the seller has no mortgage on the house and they have the house free and clear and a ton of equity. They have a little bit more flexibility in their price on what they would want, right? Or what they would need. Actually, that's what we always ask them. What do you need? But what we need to look for, and what you guys, I suggest you looking for too, is that there's two main things that will make a cash deal make or break if you guys are going to wholesale the cash deal. One of them is location, and the second is condition. So with me and Jay doing most of our business in Pennsylvania, Central PA is very rural, right? So what we have learned and learned very fast through some of our own mistakes is that if the location is bad and the condition, like meaning that it's very rural and there's not much going on, and the condition of the house is bad, it's going to be extremely hard to get rid of that deal, right? If the location is poor, meaning it's rural, but the condition of the house is great, buyers will want it. Reason being is because that they're looking, if they're going to put their money into an area that doesn't have a ton going on, they're not going to want to put a ton of money into the house. People right now are actually holding on to their cash and they're hoarding it because they don't know what's going on in the market. So for an example, we did a deal right outside of Pittsburgh. It's in Allegheny County, which if you're not familiar with the Pittsburgh market, Allegheny County is basically like Philadelphia County or any hot county near your area. Now with that house, the location was absolutely amazing. It was right near public transportation. It was in a big town. It was called Karen, Pennsylvania. And the condition of the home was poor. Well, what we are doing now to combat certain things is that instead of writing up your deal at 70, 75% of ARV, which people were doing 4, 5, 6 months ago, we're now doing it at 60 to 65% minus repairs. So that's what we did with this house. We wrote it up at 65% of the ARV minus repairs. The seller inherited the home and there was equity in the house. They had no mortgage. So they were just looking for a quick cash offer. They didn't want to do terms. They weren't looking to get small payments every month. They just wanted to cash out and be done. So we were able to come in, offer them something. Now, what I always do is I think from a buyer side, if I'm going to lock this deal up, what is my buyer going to want? Are they going to want this? Are they going to come in and put their money in? Are they going to want to take it down, and are they going to be able to rent it? And what is their return on investment going to look like? So when we wrote this deal up, we got it at a great price. The location was awesome, and the condition, it was So what happened? We wound up finding a buyer within 24 hours because of the fact that the location was great. That's all the buyer told me. I love the location. I don't really care about the condition. We can get it going. We made a $17,000 assignment fee on that one, right? How do I find out what my maximum allowable offer is? I just said it, right? You're going to be conservative on your ARV. So you're going to look at comps that are sold in the past 90 days, not the past 6 months, not the past 12 years. Why? The market is totally different from then. So the past 90 days, the past 3 months, you're going to find your comps from. If you're going to do your math by 65% of the ARV minus the repairs, again, be conservative because inflation is high, costs are high. And then you're going to figure out how much you need to get that house for. And then obviously always subtract out your assignment fee that you would prefer or you would like. And then that's the price that you need to get it for. So that's how we were able to do this and make it really quick. It was a great deal for the buyer, great deal for the seller, and we made out well as well. Second, we had a deal last month. This me being very transparent with you. It was a cash deal. It actually went backwards, and we weren't able to close on it and find a buyer for the seller, which is unfortunate. But it's part of the game, and we learned from it. Why was this? It was basically identical, same exact type of house that we did in the Karen, and that's why in my mind I was like, this is a no-brainer. We got this. I wrote it up at 60% of the ARV minus repairs, and it was like a $15,000 purchase price, and the house was worth over 130 grand. Well, I didn't take my own advice. The location was in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, and the condition of the house was really bad. It needed a ton of work. We sat and we tried to find a buyer for almost 30 days on this one. We couldn't find one at all. Feedback from the buyers: one, they're not trying to spend a ton of cash on a rehab right now unless the location is really good and they know they can either refinance it and get all their money out or resell it for a flip. Second, the condition, that was one. Second, there was really nothing around the house in terms of, I look for Walmarts, I look for Starbucks, I look for Chick-fil-A, I look for activities in the area. Is there major attractions? Are other big property or other big companies investing in that area? No, it didn't happen on this one. That's why we couldn't get rid of it. And we do have a pretty strong buyers list. But again, I want you guys to remember that the market changing, people are hoarding their cash. So that's why creative financing, we're able to create a win-win solution. Now, this did creative financing just wouldn't work for these sellers. So that's why cash was something we offered them. Now, what I want to do is I want to go into a couple creative deals that we've done, some obstacles that we're seeing, and some things that are working really well for us, and stuff we probably all haven't seen in a while because of how the market has been. So I'm going to give you an address of a house that we have under contract and we just assigned. This address is 203 Walnut Street in Tionesta, PA. If you have your computer in front of you, I want you to Google this, and I want you to see that this house is in the middle of nowhere, completely in the middle of nowhere. There's maybe 2 attractions near it, and this town doesn't even have a stoplight, right? But the condition of the house is turnkey. It's immaculate. So the theory is, if the location is poor and the condition is good, it's going to go, which is the truth. And it was proven with this one. This lady reached out to us, and this was a creative deal. This was the subject too. The lady reached out to us and saying that she wanted to sell her home. We ran our script on her and we got all the information. She owes what she wants for the house, and what she wants for the house is what the house is worth. So we were able to come in. We were able to offer her a solution. We take over her mortgage that has 29 years left on it because she just bought it last year. She has 0 equity, but she bought it in the prime time of the interest rates. So we were able to get it at a 2.75% interest rate. Now, when you go back and you're looking at this and you're like, okay, great. Everything looks awesome. The numbers look great, but you look at the location and you're like, oh man, like who's going to want to buy this? Who's going to want to rent it? Is there a rental market there? So I couldn't find any rental comps. So what I did was I called local property management companies. They gave me the inside scoop on some things, and it actually can rent for a very good amount, and it has short-term rental. It has very strong short-term rental comps. So why did I do this? Reason being is, if you're doing things virtually, you need to go right to the source. You need to find the people in the area who know it better than you. And that's what I took to my buyer, and I presented all that information to them. And I let them know X, Y, and Z, this is what you can do with it. And it was a no-brainer. Now, sellers are going to want money down. Sellers are going to want interest. Like if you have seller finance, maybe some people want interest. What are we seeing across the board, though? That is a constant. Buyers right now, because they're also hoarding their cash, they don't want to pay an entry fee that is more than 10% of the purchase price, inclusive of your assignment fee. So it's actually imperative that we are sharpening our skills right now to, one, create a win-win situation for the seller and for us and for our buyer. So what do we do in these situations? We explain to the seller that if your house needs work, we may not be able to give you money down. If you do, we can give you a little bit for moving costs, which is what we did with this one. And that's the whole point of how you can get into a deal with little to no money down, and how you make it a good investment for your buyer, right? So I have a little bit of notes here. Jay left for me because sometimes I go off on a tangent and I forget exactly what we're working towards, right? So in our creative financing group with Jen and Joe, our team and Jen and Joe's team use a cost of entry worksheet. So we created that so you can write down all of the steps, the closing costs that it's going to be, the money to the seller, our assignment fee, all that. We fill that out before we go to our buyer. We hand that to them and we show them on paper that the cost of entry is going to be 10% or less. This is what everybody's looking for. The deal flew off the shelf in 48 hours. We have a buyer and we're going to close probably within 45 days from start to finish on this one. I want you guys to go to Jen and Joe's group if you haven't. And if you are a part of it, go into the file section and there will be an Excel spreadsheet that you can download and you can use for free, the cost of entry worksheet. And if you are doing a creative deal, I want you to fill this out as you're going. And I want you to see how everything adds up fast and how you need to be able to keep your costs low to be able to assign a creative deal and for it to make sense. Now, what are some obstacles that we're seeing, right? So we can call these the cons, but I think they're more so obstacles because of the market. Now, for example, what happens with a hurricane? A hurricane comes through Florida. For all of us who are in the Northeast, we know that a hurricane's in Florida on Monday, and on Thursday, we're going to get hit with the tailwind of everything. We're going to get the rain. We're going to get maybe some wind. We're going to get crappy weather for a little bit, right? So it's the same thing with this market. There's a hurricane coming through in the market right now. Interest rates are up. Supply is low. People can't afford, what's happening. The market, the prices of houses are now dropping the values. So sellers still think some of the times that they have gold because that tailwind for them hasn't fully caught up. They've been being told for years now, since 2020, that their house is worth $1 bajillion. But with that being said, that's not really the case anymore. So what do we have to do to make sure that we tell the seller this, explain it to them properly, right? We have to sharpen our skills. We have to come up with the facts, telling them why that their house may not be worth 500, 600,000 anymore. Maybe it's only worth 3, 4, 50, 520, right? When it was 600 back in 2020. So what do we do there? There is a few different creative ways where if the seller wants all of their equity up front, we explain to them what we can do, whether that's a wrap mortgage, whether that is we give them some of their equity up front and we'll give them the rest later. There's different ways that we can do that. But it's all about negotiating and it's all about creating that win-win atmosphere for them and making them understand that if they want to go put their house on the market, it's going to sit, they're going to have to pay fees. And if they work with us or you guys, I'm assuming you guys work the same way as us, you're going to pay their closing costs. You're going to buy the house as is. They don't need to do anything. These people are looking for a fast sale, and that's why they came out to us, right? So the obstacles here are just navigating the waters, being patient, and working hard on your follow-ups. I'm going to give you a good example of a follow-up. I've been following up with this one seller for about 4 or 5 months now. The guy had put it on the market, couldn't sell it. He tried to get cash buyers, couldn't sell it. I had a conversation with him last night. He is now open to seller financing, no money down, and he does want an interest rate, but the payments are super low because we amortized it over 30 years. So what does that tell me? They're not getting what they want anymore. So this is where we can come in, and we're not going to try and rob them. We're not going to try and get a, you know, make the situation for them not fair. We're paying his full purchase price of his house, but we're making everything worthwhile for us as well. And he realizes that he's going to wait and wait and wait and not get his money, and the value of the house is only going to go down. So that's why us being in the forefront of their minds continuously over the next 6 to 12 months is important, because the market is changing, and this is where our opportunity is going to come. So right now, if you don't have a follow-up system, I suggest that you implement one. If you do have a follow-up system, continuously follow up with them until they tell you it's sold, or they come back around, which is most likely going to happen. These people are not going to have the equity that they had a year ago. Some of the people who bought their house a year ago may have no equity if they try and sell and relocate. And that's where we could come in and do a subject to transaction. We could maybe give them some money at closing to help them move. So with that being said, guys, reiterate, there's many pros with cash deals, but the location or condition has to be good. It can't be the condition and the location are poor. Now, if the condition and location are great, it's a slam dunk, right? And as long as you're underwriting that deal at 65% minus repairs, you're golden. Be conservative with your ARV. Only go off of comps that were 90 days or newer. With creative finance, you have to make sure that your entry fee, unless it's in a market like Florida or Texas or California or Arizona, your entry fee has to be 10% or less. A buyer is not going to want to come in and put 20 to 25% down, because they could go to a bank and do that, right? So if you're coming in, you want to create a win-win situation for the seller and for the buyer. Also, lastly, with these obstacles, the sellers are still not in full awareness that they're not going to get what they wanted for the house months ago. So continue to follow up with these people and continue to sharpen your skills and understand the different ways that we can help them. Whether that's the wrap mortgage, like I said, a subject to, maybe it's just straight seller financing. I want you guys to really dive into that. And we're going to be going over this stuff every week. And I'm going to continue to show you guys some of the obstacles that we faced, some things that worked great, and also some new strategies that we're doing to find sellers.